Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from today, and welcome to our first Startup Women's Industry Advisory Circle for 2024. This is for women in science and technology. I'm Isabel Nolan. I'm the Program Manager for the Startup Women and Startup Global programs at Startup Canada. To begin, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I am on today is located on the unceded and traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, also known as Vancouver. I also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of all Indigenous peoples, and I encourage you to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territory that you're residing on today. Today's session is being recorded and it will be added to our resource guide along with any resources shared during today's session. Startup Canada, if you're not familiar with us, is a national nonprofit that's the gateway to Canada's entrepreneurial ecosystem. We're here to connect entrepreneurs with the support, community, and tools that they need to build a successful business in Canada. Since launching in 2012, Startup Canada has grown to support more than 130,000 entrepreneurs annually and an ever-growing community of ecosystem partners from coast to coast to coast. Dedicated to showing up for women all year round, Startup Women is an annual program offering support to early-stage women-identifying entrepreneurs across Canada through topic-focused webinars, industry advisory circles like these, and meetings with startup women leaders. We know that when you support women, you support a nation. These monthly industry advisory circles will help attendees have a deeper understanding of trends and best practices in their sector and leave with actionable takeaways and resources that they can implement into their business. We have a short message from one of our co-presenting partners, the Scotiabank Women's Initiative, so I'll have that video play now.
The Scotiabank Women Initiative is dedicated to your success on your terms.
I'm shaping our industry's vision for the future.
I can expand my business without borrowing from my family.
I know I can face anything, thanks to my network.
I'm ready for my next chapter.
I'm inspiring future leaders.
I'm making sure my family's future is secure.
Define your success, and we'll help you achieve it. With unbiased access to capital and tailored solutions, bespoke specialized education, and holistic advisory services and mentorship. Join our community of women today, the Scotiabank Women Initiative.
And I'd also like to give another big shout out and thank you to our other co-presenting partner, UPS, also to our program partners, Export Development Canada, Mastercard, and YSpace, as well as our community of ecosystem partners, which will share all of who they are in the chat. So today's session is for women in science and technology. We're very excited to dive into the discussion, but first I'd like to sort of take you through what the next 2 hours or so are going to look like for you. So in a moment, I'm actually going to hand it over to you, the attendees, to come and introduce yourself. So you can either do this on camera or in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable with. If your camera is on, I'll assume you're comfortable with introducing yourself. So you can tell us your name, maybe where you're located, and a quick sentence or two about your business, or what you're hoping to get out of today's session. This is really useful for myself as well as the speakers, so we know who exactly is in the room and how can we best support you during today's discussion. We'll then move on to our expert talks. So we've got 3 speakers today. I'll introduce them to you shortly. And they're going to take us through their journey in the science and technology space. And then we'll spend up to an hour with a panel discussion. I do have questions carved out for the speakers, but we're here for you and to cater to your needs. So please don't be shy to ask your questions. I'll give priority to all of our attendees' questions. So hopefully we won't get to too many of my questions today, because I would love for you to have the space and feel comfortable to ask your questions. Again, you can do it on camera or you can do it in the chat and I can ask on your behalf. And then the final piece is our networking breakout rooms. So we'll do about 3 of these for 7 to 8 minutes each. And they'll be quite small. We'll have about 3 to 4 people per room. You might be put into a room with a speaker as well. And this is really your chance to work out through, a specific pain point that you're going through. Perhaps it's a question that you didn't feel comfortable asking in the larger room. So this is your chance to do that and just meet each other and connect with one another. Everyone here is, I'm assuming, is working in the science and technology space. So make some new connections. Maybe there's someone that they can introduce you to. Maybe they have a piece of advice that will help you through what you're going through. And then we'll come back into the main room after those sessions, and that'll be the session. Okay, so we will get started with our attendee introductions. So like I said, if you have your camera on, I will invite you to tell us your name, a little bit about yourself. So I think first on my list is Paris Dow.
Hello, everyone. My name is Parastu. I'm from Toronto. I'm CIO and co-founder of Maple Excellence. Our company have some solutions for managing energy and carbon emission,
Wonderful. Thank you so much for introducing yourself and be the first one to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lisette.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisette. I'm from Vaughan, Ontario. Right now, I'm running an online platform to train international student and trying to make introduce them in a tech environment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisette. Next is Azadeh.
Hi, everyone. I'm Azadeh Mostagal, founder and CEO of Orchid Analytics. We basically design AI algorithms for operational efficiency within the health sector. And we had the successful pilot with one of the downtown Toronto hospitals, and we are in procurement with them.
Fantastic. Thanks. Thank you so much. Next is Parisa.
Hi, my name is Parisa. I live in Aurora, Ontario. I'm a composer, and I'm actually starting a business in creating an online learning resource for composers in music technology.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. Next, Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Track. We are doing quality assurance for the next generation of additive electronics, and we are located in Montreal. Nice to meet you all.
Wonderful. Love to meet you too. Next is Wei. Wei who? Oh, wait, I think you are on mute. If you'd like. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. My name is Wei, and during the day, I'm working as a cybersecurity senior advisor in federal government. During night, I'm incubating a startup called Time. That is the iOS application.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Next is Jessica.
If I'm the only Jessica, then I'll go. I don't know if there's another one.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jessica Lamb. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia. My company is Karunaverse.org. It's a creative makerspace and community for kids. So kind of like Huffington Post, where it's user-generated, but art-focused. So creating art, drawing, writing, music. Parisa, I just wrote down your name. and coding. So if you have a child age 6 to 8, please come to my website and sign up for sign up for my newsletter, coruniverse.org. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm also based in Vancouver, so I'm sure you're seeing the rain that we're getting today. All right, so, Stephanie Robinson.
There we go, found it, sorry. Hey, Stephanie Robison. I'm just west of Calgary, over in Alberta. And I'm in transition as well after a lengthy career with Imperial Oil in oil sands and conventional reservoir. I'm looking at transition more into sustainable energy, and did a stint last year with a lithium startup here in Calgary and kind of got the startup bug. Yeah, so this is my first call and really excited to join you all and listen in and learn.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. To anyone that's just joined in the last couple of minutes, we're just doing a roundtable of introductions with all of our attendees. So if you are comfortable, you can put your camera on and introduce yourself. Otherwise, you can also introduce yourself in the chat. April.
Hi, I'm April Shimko. I'm located in Calgary. I am a startup founder for Positive Pet Stars Inc. We are going to be an online SaaS for the pet sourcing industry. We're looking to make it safer and more ethical for people acquiring their pets across Canada.
Fantastic. Thank you, April. Next up, I have Lali.
Thank you, Isabel, and great meeting everyone. I'm Citlali Rios. I am a Mexican trying to figure out how to not be dependent on the corporations to employ me. So I'm just figuring out what I want to do, and I'm based in Toronto.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Samira.
Oh, hi. Got to figure it out here. My name is Samira Kodadis, and I'm a CEO and founder of Safe Harbor Research and Technologies. We are an ocean tech startup located in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we are developing a technology that will assess and monitoring the speed of the vessels to prevent incidents occurs within the busy waterways to save lives underwater and save planets and marine life. Yeah, that's what we do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Anka, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself, but I see you're driving as well, so I don't want to distract you. Okay.
Sorry, hi, I can hear you. Sorry, yeah, I am driving. I'm just, my name is Anka. My background's oil and gas. I've been an HR consultant for quite a while. I founded a single parent app, and we should be going live. I've been working on it actually for a few years. It's been a lot of work, so I've been in tech now for over 5 years. So I can relate to some of the ladies here going in that were in transition and are moving on from other industries to others. I'm happy to support. So connect on LinkedIn. I will do that when I get home. I'm almost home. I was just dropping my son off at school. But yeah, that's me. So Anka Dan, if you'd like to connect, I'm on LinkedIn. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anka. I appreciate it. And yeah, it seems like there's a lot of people in the room here today that are transitioning from, you know, their day job into, you know, their hopefully their dream job. So thank you so much for coming in and attending. We still have a few people coming into the room. So if you have just come into the room and you would like to introduce yourself on camera, please do. I see TI has just put their camera on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya Ironstone. I'm so sorry I'm late. I was in another meeting. I'm really excited to be here and hear what everybody has to say.
No worries. Thank you so much for joining today. All right. If there's no one else that would like to introduce himself. Oh, I've got Ashawa.
Yeah, hi everybody. I thought I'd just pop on and introduce myself. My name is Trisha North.
I'm actually, Oshawa Social Co is my small business. Yeah, I'm Indigenous. I'm Cree. My home community is up north in northern Manitoba, Treaty 5 territory, Bunbonabee Cree Nation. But I reside in Winnipeg, and I'm back and forth supporting my community. So I'm in Treaty 1 territory. But yeah, I have a service-based business where I provide communication services for Indigenous focused projects, businesses, and that looks like branding and mostly the marketing and content creation side of things. But I do have a background in media and I love tech, and I'm trying to basically support Indigenous individuals, businesses, and communities to adopt tech to support their a sustainable career choice for young Indigenous people specifically, and women going into the future. So I'm just exploring and learning more about that and how I can do that too. Nice to meet you, and I feel free to add me on any socials as well. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and joining. Agnieszka?
Yes, thank you, Isabel. My name is Agnieszka, and I'm totally new here. I've just moved to Winnipeg, and my background is based on incubation, on commercialization, startup, and mainly international project. I've run few projects as a project manager. And today I've just wanted to look around and to see how can I give you my knowledge and what kind of input would be valuable for you also. So it's very nice to meet you all, and thank you that you allow me to become a member of that meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. Zara.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Zara. I'm based out in Toronto. I'm the marketing co-founder of Avra, and we're building a SaaS tool to help individuals cultivate more positive thoughts in their daily lives throughout all areas of life. So we've launched a few months ago on iOS and Android, and we have plans to build out the web platform and go deeper into data analytics. Currently, we're focusing on sustaining our current user base and build that solid community. And yeah, I'll include links in the chat, and I'm really happy to connect on LinkedIn and learn a lot from this session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. And Azar.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I'm Azar Ozad. I'm the CEO and founder of AI Valley. We are focused on medical imaging and providing real-time analysis and generating patient reports, which is directly going to the EMR. I have experience in clinical healthcare system for more than 30 years, and I would be more than happy to help anyone. I'm also a certified regulatory auditor. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you to everyone for coming on screen and introducing yourselves, or if you introduce yourself in the chat, make sure that, if you've got any link that you'd like to share within the chat to connect with each other, please feel free to do that. We're now going to go into our expert talks from our 3 different speakers. So speakers, when I introduce you, maybe you can just give a little wave so everyone knows who you are. So I have Melanie Ratnam, President of Society for Canadian Women in Science and Technology. We have Megan Leslie, co-founder and CEO of NanoTess. And Tamasha Fernando, project lead for Propelling Female Founders and Incubator lead for Grow Now, working from the Center for Women in Business. Tamasha is also joined by Aman Tabara, who is supporting on the Grow Now program in French. So just a little context, if there aren't any French speakers here, when we're doing our networking rooms, we'll be putting Aman into, you can give a little wave there. We have a separate network room for French speakers. So if you are a French speaker and we'd like to go into that room, we'll let you know how to do that when we get to the networking breakout rooms. Okay, so let's get started with our expert talks. So Megan, I'm going to invite you to kick things off.
Sounds good.
So my name is Megan Leslie. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a Calgary-based company called NanoTess. And what my company does is we design and manufacture catalysts that solve a wide variety of healthcare challenges. Our story really begins in the skin and wound care space. So I saw in the chat some individuals from skincare, definitely a good fit. And hopefully my experience can be helpful in some way. I always like to start any speaker arrangement that I do with saying that I'm very transparent and an open book. So any of your questions, I would be happy to share my experience. I've gotten a lot of incredible mentorship from those who are sharing their stories, and what I want to do and aspire as a leader is to do the same for others and just share my story. And if it helps, great. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. But hopefully you find someone whose story does help. What inspired me to get started was my co-founder and I are also partners in life as well as business. So we had the unfortunate scenario of losing both his parents to chronic health conditions within a year of each other. And from that, it really shifted our purpose in life. So originally I was an engineer. I worked in management consulting, solving Fortune 500 problems for big companies. I also have a degree in finance, so I was just using my education and background to solve big problems. And when we entered this life transition state, really took a hard look in the mirror and said, I think we can do something about this. I think we have the skills and the network to be able to provide value. So both of us quit our jobs and started NanoTess. We've been at this for just over 3 years now. Where we are at as a business and what I can speak to for any questions is our products are regulated as medical devices. We also have the ability to go through cosmetic pathways. So I understand kind of the broad spectrum regulatory for health companies here. Our products are all approved for use in Canada. We've done clinical evaluations, national distribution, and have contracts with provincial health systems within 2024. So very, very recent. I think what the challenges we faced, we can go into. I want to be specific for any questions that each of you have. I think overall, the fact that you're dedicating time to this session is a testament of how we have to come together as an ecosystem to support one another, because the journey is not easy. And I commend those of you who have started it and those of you who have been managing to maintain your full-time careers while also doing the side hustle of starting a business. So it's incredibly inspiring. And I love that there's so many women here that are going to be making game-changing solutions for the problems that you're tackling. Challenges that we face, I think, as women is, or at least I have faced, is the same thing I like to think that Canadians face in general when they look international for raising capital, is we tend to be highly methodological in our approach to solving things, and a need to be ready before you ask or before you present yourself. I think that is a really good thing for running and operationally running a business, and I think it sometimes gets in the way for raising capital. So I'm happy to speak through what that's looked like for NanoTess and what I've learned along the way that might be helpful for your businesses. I also think in general, I'm a female, but I'm also a relatively young founder in healthcare, and I'm not a doctor. So the biases are stacked against me in what I do. But I have found ways to overcome that for myself personally and for my team. But I can speak to anything related to managing a team when you're younger than them, or working with physicians and health or professionals in deep science technology when you don't have the same degree and background, kind of how I've played that game, and maybe it would be helpful. So I'll pause there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Megan. Yeah, we're definitely going to be getting into the nitty-gritty aspects of your journey and the challenges that you've faced and how you've overcome them. So thank you for sharing your journey with us. So up next, I'm going to invite Melanie to share your story.
I just really, really happy to be in this space with all of you today. I reside in Toronto. The organization that I'm here on behalf of today is called the Society for Canadian Women in Science and Technology. The acronym is SCWIST. They're headquartered in Vancouver as well. And I'll just give you a little bit of an origin story regarding SCWIST. So, 42 years ago, there was a group of 6 founding scientists who, before they founded SCWIST, they experienced, Megan referenced biases, and I'm sure, there's this acute awareness of the fact that all of us understand inherently what type of systemic barriers you face, right, as women in the entrepreneurship space and in the innovation space, as that intersects with, specifically the science and tech field, and then also as it, relates to folks' intersectionalities as well, right? So these 6 founding scientists got together and said, in our journey, like there's all of these intangible things that we experience, and I wonder what would happen if we maybe just host an event and see what else is out there. Are there other folks that are experiencing similar things? And lo and behold, they had a whole slew of folks that turned out to that event 42 years ago. And one thing led to another. They realized there was a huge need to have a space to talk about what those intangible challenges we face are, and the organization, that flame that was sort of lit years ago, or more than 4 decades ago, still kind of burns today. Obviously, the barriers and the challenges have shape-shifted, and they've taken on different forms in present times, but as you all well know, they persist today. And so the organization has a range of programming, but I guess within the scope of today's talk, what I can do is highlight the ways in which it's relevant for the people in this virtual room. So if you are an entrepreneur, whether you're early stage, in the middle of your journey, or you're a little more seasoned, regardless of where you are in your journey, there are tools and resources that are really nice, but are important for understanding what it means to build teams that have like a diverse and inclusive like environment, and it can get, you can take they take a scalpel to those resources, and these are all resources that are obviously free. The network that SCWIST represents is also a great opportunity to be introduced to a diverse talent pool. I continuously meet women that join SCWIST for the same reason that I found and joined SCWIST, to literally right after graduate school. I did my PhD in neuroscience at U of T, and right after graduate school, I was just like, I wonder if there's anyone in Canada that sort of provides a space for this, all these other stuff that I experienced. Googled them, found them, and just since then, I come across women who, like all of you, make you question the meaning of your life. They're so accomplished. But outside of that commonality, it's the challenges, it's the things that you can't touch, it's the comments or the barriers, right? Or the access to VC funding, and the why it's difficult to access VC funding, or just funding in general. All of those things that I think are very organically built into that network at SCWIST. So when you come there, or you join, or if you're interested in any of like the sort of non-member opportunities and for engagement or resources, what it means to build a diverse talent pool, what it means to build an inclusive work culture, If you are looking for diverse talent with an incredible background and skill set, SCWIST is a great place to meet very diverse talent. And I mean, not just in terms of people's intersectional dimensions or diversity dimensions. I'm also referring to like just geographic representation from across Canada, because it is a national society. And I think one thing that maybe I would highlight is that the journey as an entrepreneur, and I walk in two spaces. So one on this side in terms of equity and STEM, but I'm also in the entrepreneurship space at U of T. And so every single one of the stories that you all referenced is one that I relate to on a personal level with my own startup journey in the science and wet lab research space. So I won't talk about that, but I will just sort of touch on it to say that I walk in the entrepreneurship and innovation space as well. And there's just a lot of resources and tools and access to talent within SCWIST that I think would, if any of you are interested in, learning a little bit more of, would be happy to connect on LinkedIn. Please do visit the website as well if you'd like to learn more. And yeah, just really, really excited to be with all of you today. And I'll leave the rest for as the conversation continues.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Melanie. All right. And finally, Tamasha, I'd like to invite you to tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, everybody. Happy to join here with Megan and Melanie. Diverse set of experience and different skill sets and different challenges I faced. So, and also the founders and awesome set of startups and different verticals, different industries, and happy to be here. And so my name is Tamasha Fernando. I represent Center for Women in Business. We are based in Nova Scotia. And I'm also the incubator manager of Corona, which is specifically designed for female tech founders. And our mandate is across Canada, and we are funded by the Government of Canada under Women Entrepreneurship Strategy. So I'll explain what Corona is later on. And so my background is more or less helping tech startups throughout my life, extending over 12 years of experience in the startup ecosystem in different ecosystems around the world. So, and I'm also, and in different stages as well. I've been dealing with from aspiring entrepreneurs to launch stage startup, ideation stage startups, scaling stage startups, scaling locally, scaling globally as well. And also on policy level as well, especially talking about red tapes for female founders, which exist in almost all the ecosystems. And also I'm a mentor of Techstars, and also I'm the leader of women's edition of Techstars Startup Weekend, and also a global mentor of SeedStars, which is also all our mentor platforms that you can use for, especially for tech founders across. Yeah, so that's me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tamasha. So there's a little bit about who our speakers are, the sort of types of expertise that they've kind of garnered throughout the years. So I'm going to open it up now to our panel discussion. So we have just under an hour for this section. As I mentioned when we started out, I do have some questions planned out for our speakers, but I would love to hear from all of our attendees. If you have any question at all throughout this section, you can use the raise hand function on the bottom of your screen, and you can come on camera and ask your question. Or if you're more comfortable, you can ask it in the chat, and we'll ask it on your behalf. So I'll reiterate that a couple of times because I do truly want people to feel like they have a voice in the session. They can ask their questions to the speakers, and you can direct it to one speaker, you can direct it to all of them. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask your questions. So to kick us off, Melanie, I'd love to kind of dig in a little bit more to SCWIST. So you talked about the different programs that you offer, including, I think you've got youth, introducing youth to STEM, women immigrating to Canada, and lots of skills sharing programs. What are some of the common goals or objectives of entrepreneurs participating in those programs? And can you maybe speak to the impact that these programs have had on them? Any success stories maybe you can share?
Yeah, I was speaking about this just yesterday. So I guess I can share both my own lived experience as well as others who are entrepreneurs, some of them intersecting identities in terms of being newcomers to Canada as well. Some of them, like many of you, either pivoting or taking new directions in terms of career directions, and then some that have, as one person described it, being bitten by the entrepreneurship bug. So we have a whole a range of folks that join, but I think the one commonality I would say is that when the spaces that we are in, when the wherewithal of what some of the barriers we may face are, when the wherewithal is not there, or it's just not a space that is fully cognizant of what that experience is, what it means to be a woman in STEM, what those intangible biases might be. SCWIST is a place, and it's an ecosystem to be able to enter and then to just be around people who get it. And I think sometimes the way I described it, someone asked me yesterday, if the organization that you're a part of, whether it's whatever institution, company, organization, whatever it is, if the organization you're a part of is not fully in that space, doesn't fully comprehend it, and maybe isn't even ready for taking the next steps to change culture, to shape culture, to be receptive to that. If they're not there, then what do you do? And I think that's to me, I think the biggest commonality with SCWIST is that people come, and when the minute you walk through those doors, you just get it. It's so. You go from having an outward, that I would describe as an outward journey, and that outward journey maybe isn't ready, but SCWIST is a place where the inward journey allows you to build resilience. And so being a part of SCWIST meant that I could be in a space, I could be in an ecosystem where all of those systemic barriers and biases were not like climbing a mountain to explain to someone. They're like, of course, this is what you're dealing with. So are we. And these are all the ways in which we are. And to have that was just like it was like a burden being lifted, because I was like, oh, I'm among people who get it. And then, the minute you start tacking on, various intersectionalities as well, you find groups even within the SCWIST network that you can also relate to. And so that inward journey, as we're a not-for-profit, we're an ecosystem outside of all of that, is a space that allows you to then really deeply just build resilience. And when you're among that group and those things that sometimes make you wonder if am I crazy? Did somebody just say this to me? Was this a ridiculous comment? And I'm sure you've all heard, as women and as entrepreneurs, I'm sure you've heard a whole, range of interesting comments. I certainly have. But to be in this space means to have other people who have as well. And that goes a long way. What I would say is that not just like as an individual was being around people like this great for building resilience. The other part of one's person and identity, what makes it all worthwhile is being able to say, well, yes, this is what it is, but what can we do about it? And SCWIST is a place where folks can actually contribute to what systemic change looks like. And so the success story that I will give you is, so Dr. Evelyn Passman, I have actually, from the time that I joined SCWIST, she and I joined at a very similar point in our lives. And she's a physician scientist. She's also, originally from the Netherlands, so did her medical degree there, did her PhD here at Western, is a newcomer to Canada as well, and decided she was bitten by the entrepreneurship bug as well, and she's a co-founder of a medtech company called Tenomics. And so very successful, they're doing well. I say this because I've had the privilege of working with her on SCWIST's policy and advocacy committee, and we've taken that to new heights. But as two people who found ourselves in spaces in that outward journey, where the space just wasn't ready for what we were feeling, SCWIST was the place where we could come and really say, yeah, we have this in common, and then also how can we shape systemic change? What does that look like? And having an avenue to do that, and then provide resources and tools to others who are either building their company. And I'm going to specifically reference the fact that we need more men, we need male allies to be able to really create systemic change as well. So it's kind of circular, being able to create these tools and create these resources, and say, hey, if you're building a culture, if you're early on in the journey, these are some of these things that can help you. And if you are a larger company, what it looks like is you're hiring maybe consultants with this type of expertise or tools and resources, and you have the money that you need to be able to create ecosystem change within your company, right? Especially if it's much bigger and it's harder to move or pivot or scratch your nose in any way. What's great about the tools and resources here is if whatever stage you're in, they are free, they're accessible. And so you can use this as foundational for when you're building a company, or you can use it regardless of where you are in your journey. And then the other aspect is, I highlighted a success story, which is Evelyn Passman and her company is Tenomics, and very transparently shared what her journey was like. But the other great thing about SCWIST is just, if you just meet a whole slew of talented, diverse folks from across Canada. And so if you're looking for folks that are also looking for work in terms of hiring and building out your team, then it's a great place for finding people who probably have a lot in common with you in more than one way.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Melanie. And yeah, I think a lot of people here today will resonate with that, with having a comfortable and safe environment within, a traditionally male-dominated space is crucial for, your growth and, excelling in what you're doing. And sort of based on what you were talking about, I'd love to chat with you, Megan, a little bit. Melanie talked about changing the culture within the STEM space, and you definitely seem to be helping to tackle this. I think the majority of your team are women identifying. So can you maybe speak to this a little bit, and perhaps what have been your biggest challenges that you faced as a woman in, like I said, a traditionally male-dominated field, and perhaps how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I think for me, so I mentioned in the brief overview, my degrees come from male-dominated fields, so mechanical engineering and finance. My work experience, there's many teams that I've worked on where I was the sole female representative of those teams, and that was normal for me. When moving into starting NanoTess, we hire incredibly talented people. They just happen to be women, I would say. The reason why I think we are succeeding, though, is the leadership that it takes, I believe, at least, to lead women is different than men. And I give a concrete example of what that looks like. So generalizing statements, there's a spectrum of where people fall on the scale. So if I have two employees who are both under 25, both have master's degrees, one is a man and one is a woman, I tend to see that the male would be more driven to picking up the phone, chasing down a sale, saying they're ready when they may not be ready, sharing that they succeeded is a big one. They really celebrate success more naturally. And the female will be perceived as a bit slower to get the work done, but everything that's done is really high quality. But it takes a little bit more nudging and pushing to get them to go outside of their comfort zone. And I think if we look at that from how do we lead these two different individuals, regardless of their gender, is very different. So if I was to push this more guardian style personality to be more assertive, I'm not setting them up for success because I'm fundamentally trying to change the way they naturally are. Whereas if I try to take this more of a pioneering person and tell them you need more structure, again, I'm fundamentally trying to change who they are. So I've taken within my organization a really big step back to say, what type of leader do I have to be for these two different types of people, gender aside? And so we've used terms and we've used business chemistries that don't relate to gender, but relate to the guardian personality of need for more control, and the pioneer personality is need to forge new paths. We also have integrators who are more people-focused and drivers that are more outcome-focused. And we use this common language to help empower ourselves to know how each other work together. I think one of the challenges that I face is, regardless of my ability and my willingness to try and do this for my team, as I bring in more leaders and more individual contributors to my organization, there's also a big emphasis on educating them of the difference between leading and working with these two different styles, if we put it on a spectrum of people. And that we have to be fluid and adaptive to how we work with one another and how we leverage the strengths, because each are important, but if positioned adequately, they'll succeed exceptionally well. If forced to change, we're just going to face barriers and frustrations amongst ourselves. So I do have a team that happens today to be 70% women. 50% of those women have 2 post-secondary degrees or more, and incredibly smart and educated individuals. But my leadership style and the style that I have to work with my executive leadership team has to adapt in order to make them have the equal opportunity for the type of work that we're driving forward, which is very external and sales driven at this point in time.
Thank you so much, Megan. It really sounds like you're being incredibly thoughtful in your leadership, and I think that's a fantastic thing. You know, you completely hit the nail on the head. You know, everyone has different personalities regardless of their genders. And so being mindful of that and being aware of it can definitely help with everyone succeeding. Tamasha, would you like to add to that, you know, in terms of entrepreneurs that are coming through your programs, any common barriers that you see them facing and how you're supporting them through that?
I can, but I think Samira has a question. She has raised hand. Do you want to take it up and then come to me?
Absolutely. Yes, Samira, go ahead.
Yes, sorry, thank you. Thank you, Tamasha. So thank you, Megan and Melanie, for the great information you provide here. I actually have a question. I'm not sure which one you can answer, but I think it kind of reflects on both aspects of like leadership and also finding a right personnel. I am in like a situation that I'm trying to find somebody that like actually a woman engineer to come into the space to basically help the company to get to the point that they need to do the testings and all that stuff. And going through all that has been very challenging because I tend to see male dominant, because it's a male dominant environment, obviously, and in ocean technology environment, but we still have a great people that did when that actually started coming in and wanted to great things within the ocean environment, ocean technology. But I see a lot of male actually coming in and applying and basically want to be involved, and it's fine. Like I throughout the start of the project when I came in, it was a bunch of people coming in and they're all male from engineering to software to hardware, and unfortunate in that term, because I was really open to have like these female engineers or female people that want to be part of it and to be a female, but I haven't had a chance to actually really, get those people applying. One of the things I wanted to ask is that in terms of like leadership, I guess the challenge you mentioned, that I feel now that challenge is coming through. And with, of course, a technology and development environment, it's very challenging because it takes time to get to some places to be able to actually keep these employees hired and with a tiny little limited funding. How did you come up with, that solution? What did, in terms of, when you started, obviously you probably had your own time and money that putting through. But I also wanted to know, how did you manage that in terms of finding a personnel that you think that might be suitable for your organization, and not trying to like going over and over with different people and keep changing and changing, because I feel like it's very exhausting. And I feel if I, maybe I would prefer to work with academic institution that they just get that hired people and I don't have to deal with it until I'm actually really ready to hire people to bring it in. I just wanted to know your experiences, and also have you had this like issues with the fundings? Because one of the major concern, I think, for any startup coming into the space, if they don't have a technical background and trying to be like, I'm a technical person, I don't have engineer background, but I've had a technical background in ocean environment, and I can only do certain things, and I do have to create and bring in people in. And I found the funding is one of the biggest challenge as a startup, because government doesn't cover the full 100%. And trying to bring in somebody from academic institution, there's certain part of the programs that they can cover and certain things that they don't. And so I just kind of wanted to learn about that and see how did you manage through going through this challenge and getting to the point that you are able to actually hire people in your team.
I have some quick fire thoughts, but happy to have my other guest speakers join in too. One thing is just to recognize that what you're going through is very normal. It went through it. I think we actively go through it all the time. Some of the things that I've walked away from learning is my organization wasn't 70% women when it started. It was actually the opposite, if not worse. And that's because what I believe is the talent that was willing to work with us in the early days happened to be more risk-willing individuals, with happened to be associated with more masculine male characteristics. So even though the intention is to hire women, I think sometimes reflecting and taking that moment to say, we'll put our best foot forward to do so, but as the business evolves, this may change. One of the strategies we employed personally was we hired women who may not have been the most qualified for the roles, but they were the most willing to get in the weeds and learn. And we paired them with an advisor. So the benefit of doing that is we typically hired students really young. The grant subsidies is better, and the amount you have to pay is lower because they're not, they don't have their degree, or they just got their degree. They're at a different place in their career to make that sacrifice. And this is true with men too. We pair them with an advisor who brings that technical expertise, and it's what I've had to do myself as a founder, is find my group of advisors who are going to help steer the ship with me. And then I do all of the work. They just help me as a sounding board. I found that worked really well to build and grow talent especially when they're hard to hire for. So in medical devices, it was a quality manager, really hard position to hire for, very unique personality types. I ended up hiring a master's student. They liked it, and I paired them with an advisor, and they are now the quality manager. It works really well. The second half of your question on one of the things I had learned, and I'm still trying to come to terms with this one personally, is my new belief is that you will never find the one person who can help fix and bring your business forward. And it's really frustrating because I wish it was that easy, that you'd find that one person who could solve all the problems. But what I've experienced is you'll find a person who will solve some problems, create more problems, but overall the mess that's created is going to move you forward. It's just not going to be easy, and it's going to be incredibly painful. It's what is your internal cycle for judging if the mess and the disruption that's being created with new talent is moving you forward or moving you back. And then when you pull that trigger to saying, you know what, this person's just not the right fit versus this person is challenging us, but we're growing in the right direction, and therefore this pain is worthwhile. That's kind of how I've had to think through that piece, but it's been really, I didn't like that realization, and I wish I could just find the one person who would help with my financing or the one person that would help with my sales, and I don't think it's the thing.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. I believe that it's important to hear from somebody else's in that direction. I totally agree that you can't find one person doing everything and to actually be correct. It's just understanding, where who you want to invest to or bringing in that actually really feel that want to be part of it. And that's, I think I found is extremely challenging, not just coming in for a few months and just want to learn experience and bye-bye. That is something that I feel like I'm really tense about it, because you have to feel that you are going to put something for the company, even for a short period of time. And I found that is extremely challenging to find. But thank you for sharing your experience.
It is extremely challenging to find. If they can resonate with your mission and you continue to use your company values and that vision to steer your organization, know that for you as a founder, you are living that every single day. You know why you're doing it, but your team isn't. As much as I wish they just did, they're not. They're not the founder. So what we've done is we've used these values and vision as a continual tool that comes out in everything we do, to the point that for me, it sounds like we're oversaying it, but for the team, they need to hear it all the time and be reminded of the wins that we're making, and not just the workload that's ahead of us as a startup. So hopefully that would help a little bit.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Samira. Great questions. And Tamasha, I'd love to go over to you to kind of continue on that a little bit. I'd love to, if you could share a little bit more about the incubator that you have grown now, and maybe there's problems similar to what Samira was talking about that you're helping entrepreneurs solve through the program.
Yeah, so I'll start with what Grow Now Incubator is all about. So Grow Now Incubator is funded by Innovation, Science and Economic Development of Canada under Women Entrepreneurship Strategy. So we are an incubator specifically targeted at tech female founders in early stages. So not, when I say early stages, not from the ideation, but those who have the MVP, even halfway built, and the business registration can definitely join in. So what we build in Grow Now is the business acumen around the tech piece they have. So the Grow Now Incubator comes in three folds. We have training, coaching, and also comes with funding too. So the main focus of the program is to get the businesses ready to get into the market. So the bucket of startups that you find in Grow Now Incubator is more or less in the same bucket. Those could be with the MVP, of course. Some are pre-revenue and some are post-revenue. Not when I say post-revenue, they're not up in the curve, but first customer, second customer, like more or less struggling in the same bucket to get into the market or to do the initial few sales. So so that's why we are very much focused on giving like a coaching experience for I will share the link to the incubator, of course, and personalized attention to all the startups in the cohort. So our incubator is across Canada and also runs bilingual too. So we actually launched the French cohort about 3 weeks back. Correct me, Iman, if I'm wrong. Iman is the one who's leading that. And so the main objective of this particular incubator is creating. First thing is creating that safe zone for female tech founders who can share their experience and make connect peer-to-peer connections with the like-minded set of females who are struggling with the same issues. And I have seen so many stuff, so many knowledge being shared among the peers, even within the sessions, that people learn from everywhere. They share with the peers and people comment on that. Not just the training that you get from the consultant who is the speaker of the session, but also they learn a lot from the others as well. Because they're in the same bucket, everybody is looking for funding, could be dilutive, could be non-dilutive. And some people have gone through the same process, some have failed, they are sharing the experience, how they burnt their hands, and some say how they got succeeded, the tips and tricks that nobody shared. So I also learn a lot from being an incubator manager from everybody else in the room. So I would say first thing is we create that safe zone for the startups who are in the thanks Samira. So Samira is in the Grow Now cohort. So I didn't invite her, so she's there. Hi Samira, just want to say hi. So so safe zone and also make them market ready in terms of business and in terms of the person as well. So we have two aspects that we focus on the incubator. One is developing your business and developing you as a founder, as an individual to go and start your business and launch your business in the market, or if you want to go fundraising, make yourself confident enough to go and start fundraising. Could be dilutive, could be non-dilutive. And we are also working with a set of investors, and we do have a set of sessions called ecosystem sessions, other than the normal training coaching that we usually talk about. All the subject areas you will find it everywhere in an incubator, marketing, finance, HR, all that stuff. And also we have set of sessions called ecosystem sessions, where we bring in key ecosystem partners to come and talk to these Grow Now incubators, where they talk about their offering and how they can support the female tech founders. And the main objective of this is to build that connections, because as incubator managers, one of the core things that I believe, and also Iman believe is that we should be obsolete at some point. They should understand the network, they should understand the ecosystem better for them to directly connect with the ecosystem partners. So say if I am lacking this, or where to talk to, where to get funds, whom to reach out to. So she should have the understanding of the ecosystem, a kind of a not very in-depth, but at least a bird's eye view of how the ecosystem is functioning and what is happening. And also we do share, one of the core things that in Grow Now Incubator is we create globally scalable startups. So when we assess the startups to coming into the Grow Now Incubator, one of the things that we consider is that whether they have the mindset of going global. And also we are in partnership with Trade Commissioner Service Canada as well on that, where they will help the startups to go, and also we are an approved incubator of MyTech, which support financially and which support financially, and also TCS support both financially and knowledge-wise as well for them to go global. So one of the core things that we believe in the incubator is that the global mindset is something that you need to inculcate from the very beginning of your startup, because if you are in tech, that is the easiest to go global. And also we do share the reports of each industry happening across the globe, especially ECOA is one of the main bodies that we are working with. They are a key partner of startup Genome, if you have heard of that. So Genome, they have reports on each sector, blue economy, agri, and all that. So we are closely in touch with all the ecosystem and also with ECOA to keep bringing the global knowledge into the startups as well. For an example, say Samira. So if Samira wants to get into a global market, which is the most feasible market to stepping into, what is the best or booming market across the globe to first stepping into, and to decide on all that. So we have a good support structure around the incubator, which is supported by not only from the trainers and consultants, and also with the ecosystem partners and other supporting organizations that we have. And yes, and in terms of talking to Samira about the staff, of course, this is a very, very common problem. I have seen some of the startup. Even today morning, I was talking to one startup, which she is finding a technology co-founder, but it's very hard to find. But what my recommendation is, if you have talked to somebody, if you know that person like a very long time, if you know that the business is in that person's blood and vein, then it's good to go. But if not, then you might get that person, say, for an example, say technology, get that person as a project lead or a tech lead, and to see whether the person is doing well, because in that case the person has something to look up for, right? Not just if you get as a shareholder or if you get as a CTO, it's very hard. There's nothing that they can look up to. So my recommendation is, usually if somebody is looking for co-founders, first get them as a project lead. I could be wrong, but this is my personal opinion. As a tech lead, where they can look up to, and you will also have time to assess them and to see whether they connect the dots. We call them, they connect the dots as you do in your business. And also what I usually say for the startups is that hunting for people, whenever the network event that you're going in, not just directly recruit, but keep looking for people all the time, because it's very rare. Keep like a book of or like a log that people of that you share, that you meet and talk to as potential candidates, could be a good option when you're searching for, or when you're ready for your first hire. So that is what I usually say for the startups who are looking for all these HR issues.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tamasha, for bringing us through the Grow Now Incubator and all the incredible support that it's providing entrepreneurs, and then touching on that specific challenge with staffing. I'd love to open up to all of our speakers and talking about, I think you've each talked about different tools and resources that you've used. So I'd love to kind of get more specific on what those resources are. So Megan, are there any resources that helped you in when you were starting out your business, and that you sort of have leaned on, maybe you do still lean on?
Yeah, I would say it can be very overwhelming that there's just so many resources that exist. The thing that I found was to always stay open to exploring different resources, but when you find something that really resonates with your style, your direction, your need, to commit to that, rather than to commit to a lot of things. I think it's just I have a wide network now, but I really hone in. My most frequent conversations probably happen with 3 to 5 individuals rather than the large network. So part of it, like part of my advice is find the resources, listen to the resources, but don't worry if you don't commit to all of the resources, because sometimes overcommitting can draw your sights away from your business a little bit. So the things that worked well for me would be really specific ones in health and in the health and medical device space. So they might not be applicable for this group, but that generalizing statement of just find the ones that actually will help with the problems you're facing and are doing it in a way that you resonate towards. So there's 1,001 ways to do the same thing. It has to be authentic to you if you're going to ultimately be engaged enough to learn it and repeat it, is kind of my self-belief.
Thank you. Yeah, great advice. There is so many incredible resources and tools out there. So it's kind of weeding through that noise and finding something that is applicable to you and your needs, I think is a very useful piece. But Anka, before we go to you, Melanie, we haven't heard from you in a minute. Can you sort of talk about the resources and tools that you'd maybe suggest, or perhaps for entrepreneurs to go, where they can go to find these resources?
Yeah, I think I echo Megan's sentiments, and she said it so well. So I won't add anything more to that. But yeah, just to reiterate, I like based on whichever subfield or diverse field of science and tech you're in, or just tech you're in, the rules, the tools and resources that are available, there's probably ones that are more applicable to your specific journey than others, and then maybe just being intentional about which ones you select. And I think there was a point that Megan made earlier too that I find to be true, which is your journey is just for whatever reason, there's probably no duplicate out there. There's just so many moving parts to building a business in your niche or in a nuanced way that make your journey very unique. And sometimes when there's going to be stories and anecdotes out there that, or testimonies or playbooks that are relevant, but parsing out what those specifics are and being okay with saying, okay, well, this nugget or this piece or that element works, but then just understanding that like your journey is nuanced. That's a really, really, really great point to highlight, and makes sometimes what can seem particularly lonely, what can seem particularly challenging. Building anything from scratch is a challenge, right? And that's why it takes a really special person, and all of you are really special people, to say, I'm going to embark on this journey. I'm going to build this company from scratch. That's what just makes you an incredible group of people. Really, really special. I think what's also unique about that is the journey itself. So yeah, you just being intentional about what resources. I would say within SCWIST, I think I don't remember who referenced HR here, but in terms of like building a team and what it means to onboard that talent and what it means to sustain that talent as they journey with you, because they believe in the mission and the values of your company. Though there's so many moving parts to that as well, and I think sometimes you can be in a space where you're like, some of this is not working, or some of this is working. And I think you might find that you have to hire a consultant, or you might need to, you'll have legal fees or HR fees, or like there's all sorts of things that can happen. So I think with SCWIST, I think there are some just accessible free resources and tools in terms of building culture, in terms of understanding what some of those moving parts are, that for an early stage founder might be, just like more accessible. So I'll highlight that. And then, I think Megan's points are great. And I think just being okay with that and being aware of that is a big plus.
Thank you, Melanie. Anka, would you like to come on screen and ask your question?
Hi, ladies. I apologize. I'm actually working off of both my laptop and my mobile. So my suggestion was I have to reiterate what Megan was saying, and that there's, like in Calgary, we're overwhelmed with the technology industry and there's so much going on. But what I've learned to connect is with universities or alumni associations you're part of. For me, I'm alumni at MRU and UFC, and so a lot of what I'm bootstrapping. So we haven't raised yet. We've raised a bit for family and friends. What we're doing, I've been working on this alone literally for 2 years, pre-revenue. What we're doing as a social enterprise, our goal is to go global within 5 years. So we have audacious goal. I've met some of you, personally through the tech industry at events here locally, but some of the places that have supported us in a lot of the procedures we need as far as tech support, development, even my background's HR, so HR has to be implemented from the get-go. So any operational like HR, IT, tech, research and development, there have been many things that I've utilized coming from educational academia. So that's something maybe reach out to. We've done a few accelerators. The other company, or I don't know if it's a company, it's Venture for Canada. We've utilized them. We're going to be utilizing them as well in the future. So it's again reaching out to people that connect and are offering the tribe support for you. And that's all I had to say, is just look at other ways of getting that support and building your tribe, because not everybody's going to believe in what you're doing. And then, you're going to have the naysayers. But again, knowing that what you're doing is authentic to your growth, and being a founder and developing something from ground up is challenging in itself, but also having the people that aren't seeing the vision, it's okay. Not everybody's going to realize what you're building, and that's okay. Just connect with those that support you.
Thank you so much, Anka, for sharing your wisdoms and your knowledge. Again, I'll throw it out to our attendees. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to use the raise hand function, and we'll get straight to you. But I'll continue on with the questions that I have planned so far. So I think a lot of people in the room are probably thinking, how can I fund my my business, or further fund it, or how can I bring in some money to help with a new hire, or go through that next stage of research and development, or whatever it is. Of course, there's funding that's needed for each of the steps that you go through when you're starting and growing your business. So this is for all of our speakers. Can you maybe talk through the different avenues of funding that might be available to early stage entrepreneurs? I think Megan would be great to start out with you in terms of your own experience in funding. So what types of funding did you go after, and what was that process like for you?
Yeah, this is a great area. I think my response is going to caveat similar to what Melanie said. This is unique for everybody. There's no right way to do it, but what I wanted to share as it relates to this is some of the perspective that I've received, and in how I've so that I can share it, so that you can adapt your style based on that perspective. So at NanoTess, we've done 2 financing rounds. I think collectively we've raised over $7 million in the last 2.5 years. Equity and non-dilutive funding, everything except debt basically right now. We've done it under price rounds, convertible notes and safes, or government assistance, military assistance style funding. So it's just wide variety. I would say in the early stages of financing, you have a lot more control and opportunity to be creative. I think you do throughout, but one of the things that we did is we relied really heavily on angels in the beginning. because they were willing to take the risk and they were willing to get in front of the vision. And there was no timeline to their capital. So no, one piece of advice is if you're raising money, you're planning to raise money from venture funding, understand the mechanisms, because they're just a middle person. They hold the cash, but they're a middle person. So they're accountable to their shareholders. So understanding how that works will allow you to be a little bit more prepared. Understanding how money is raised, doing a little bit of self-education there if you're unsure. And there's tons of resources out there, and I'm sure my colleagues here on the call will be able to speak to that even better than I can. I just happen to have a degree in it, so I got lucky. One of the pieces, though, that I heard recently, raising bigger, we're setting out to raise a larger sized round. And it wasn't directed at me, but in a session like this that I sat in, and they said for raising US capital, a generalized statement is Canadian companies do not think big enough. We do not think in fast enough, and we're too methodological in our approaches. I think all of those things are incredibly important from an operator perspective, because if you are spending beyond your means and thinking too big, you're not going to go anywhere. If you're going too fast and it all fizzles out before you have a plan in place, you're not going to get there. And if you have a really good plan in place and it's methodological, then that's going to make your business more sound. But what I took away from that was we are communicating to a very different group of people. And they need to be assured that we have the ability to think big and to push ourselves to grow fast. So if you're raising from venture funds, understanding, one, how the mechanisms work, and two, their perspective on what they're looking for can be a lot of value. And this is where I think, like, even personally myself, as a more conservative, risk-averse female, I've had to rely on my male colleagues and shareholders even to give me basically the pulse check on, is that bold enough? Because for me, I think it's really bold because but it still has a plan to get there, because I naturally plan before committing to something. That's the difference between we're going to be this big and this is the resources to get us there, rather than these are all the things that I'm doing and then I'll tell you how big we'll be. So my way is actually too methodological, too slow, and not thinking big enough. But the business is the same. It's just the way that we are communicating it. So learn as much as you can in the space. Know the triggers if you're looking towards more institutional or venture capital. So anyone doing two jobs, not going to fly. I've never seen it fly before. But you don't have to raise from those investors. So it's different. So each path is unique. And ask the stories of others and what's worked and what's not worked, and try and get to your own why behind it would be my big takeaway from what I've learned in this journey.
Thank you, Megan, for sharing your experience with it. I think there's some really valuable nuggets of information and wisdom that you've shared there. So thank you so much. Tamasha and Melanie, can you share your own experiences or advice for entrepreneurs going down that funding path?
Yeah, I was going to say, I loved what Megan said and can't agree more. And I just loved your description of two very different approaches to a bold and big dream, right? With this idea that I'm going to take this approach. And I know, and I have this inherent understanding that it can be this big, and another one where it's like, I'm going to do a bunch of unknowns that probably are more, I guess familiar in that US landscape, right? Where you do, to me, it like, I loved your description of that. I was going to say one thing maybe that's slightly, just wanted to slightly touch on is that, like, funding right now is really tricky too in this economic state. It's kind of an icy period. And so people are not, they're just being very careful about what they invest in as well. And so this has caused me to kind of reflect on things historically. And I find myself looking at companies that have survived other periods in history very similar to this one, in terms of like economic downturns. And so if you have moments to reflect on this as well, building a company during this time also is a testament to something that you're probably going to build to last. And when you, there's something to be said about companies that survive economic downturns. There are many, even in the science and tech field. I'm sure you're all familiar with certain companies in the States right now that are struggling, that started off like, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, 15 or maybe upwards of 15 years ago as being really, really strong or having, really bright futures, but things are not quite what maybe they thought they were going to be, and they're not able to really survive even this moment in time. So there's a lot of moving parts. I think Megan referenced those two approaches, which I think are great constructs for us to walk away with, but just want to acknowledge the fact that it is a difficult time to fundraise at the moment. But that if, as you continue on in this journey and building something at this time is probably a testament to the strength of what you're building, and perhaps how long it's going to last as well. And I think about the folks that I'm engaging with, early entrepreneurs, like very along the spectrum, and a lot of them describe what they're doing as wanting to build something that's going to last, not just go through the entire cycle, but in a shorter time frame, and then watch it all sort of fall apart or in some way. So I don't know, I just thought I'd reference that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Melanie. And Tamasha, anything to add to that conversation?
Yeah, good, a little bit. So it was great advice from Melanie and both Megan. So I know that many of the startups, I would say like 90% are looking for non-dilutive funding sources coming. I mean, even with the incubator that we manage, looking for non-dilutive funding sources. So that means loans and grants. So which is okay. And there are a few sources that I want to mention here if you're looking for like funding specifically and also supporting. First thing is you can try on the one in the ICIT site, which they will filter you the benefit programs. I search for that. I can drop the link here if you want to search for it. That comes with both funding and other benefit programs as well. So it is, but from the government, ICIT, if you're looking for. And the other one is the other tool that actually I came across through this when I was having a chat with TD. So there's a platform called Fundeka, where you can filter by putting your information into this particular platform, and it gives you the funding options. It matches the funding options you can get through the platform. So Fundeka I actually tried, and I actually recommend this to you. These are all free tools that you can check on if you're looking for funding. But before fundraising, what I usually recommend is look back to yourself, look back to your startup as well before go and ask money outside. Because if you're not confident enough, and if your business is not ready, if you have the proper documentation, if you don't have proper financial, there's no point of going and asking money from anybody. Say it's dilutive, say it's non-dilutive. If you don't have proper cash flow forecasting, not realistic, you don't have a business plan, if you're not strong enough, people come and say, no, I tried this, it didn't work. So because it's not a strong application, you were not a strong applicant. So look back to yourself, have research data, be strong when you pitch, because The way you pitch in front of an investor or in front of an angel investor or VC is not the way you need to put your words or the tone when you're pitching for a grant, like somebody who's giving you a loan or a grant. The mechanism they evaluate you is different. So you need to understand that based on where you are looking for on funding. So, and the other thing is that use mentors and coaches as much as possible to make your application as strong as possible, because I would say, like, especially the financials, even if you have pre-revenue, that's okay. They ask for cash flow forecasting, they ask for a business plan, they ask for your go-to-market strategy. If you don't have that documentation ready, I have seen this many a time this happens, even with the ones in the incubator. They go and talk to NRCRF and come back and say, okay, this is, I have this meeting with this ITA on this particular date, but I don't have this, I don't have that. At that point only, they get ready with everything. So in advance, if you go and check on money, make sure that you're ready for it. But as Megan was saying, you will never ever be like fully ready, but you will have to have those documents, at least the basic documents that they're asking for, and in terms, and also in pitching. I have seen this happening on many startups. When I ask what your startup does, it takes like 5 minutes to say, okay, this is my startup is. 5 or 10 minutes. How you do an elevator pitch? If you take like 5 minutes to describe what your startup does, right? So you need to have that elevator pitch ready, and 1-2 lines you should be able to say in layman language what my startup does. That is one of the core things that you need to do. Need to be prepared. Say fundraising, do networking, whatever. The other thing is that you as a person pitch, if you are looking for angel investors, the way of pitching, and if you are looking for VCs, understand the VC's thesis. So investors and understanding the thesis of the venture capitalist is pretty much important, because what I usually say is, if you are not fundraising from venture capitalists or angels, it's okay, but build connections as much as possible. Networking, it is utmost important for you, not to ask money on the first day you see them, but to build connections, because the credibility built over time. When somebody invests on you, they not just invest on your business or your cash flow forecasting or your revenue projection. They invest on the person as well. They invest on the founder as well. So to build that credibility, it takes a little bit more time. So building credibility over time with the investors is pretty much important. Not to go and ask for the money in the same day, but to make sure that they are aware of the business successes you have and what you do, and whether you're a committed individual to the business and all that. And on the other way as well, understanding investor mindset and investors are pretty much important as well, because you should be very cautious about not just the money that the investor bring in, also the intangible assets that the investor bring into the table as well. So the investor, you don't want anybody to come and drop your money and he or she hold a considerable share of your business as well, and they direct your decision making process. But if that is somebody who's like a good person or a well-known person, or somebody who understand well the industry, have a bunch of connections, have a bird's eye view of what is happening in the industry. It could be in Canada, it could be in other economies across the globe. That is the person that you need to have in your business as an investor. So I usually say for startups, keep building connections, understand the investors, not just money. Getting right investors is pretty much important as well. The right understanding the right person, even if it's an investor, is pretty much important, because it's your business, it's your blood and sweat. And I know many of the startups, they bootstrap, they raise funds from friends and family. They put a lot of blood and sweat, put a lot of hours into it. So it's important that you maintain, the quality of the business, and also get the investors give a hype to your business, like an instant hype for your business. Yeah. So those are the
strategy
things that I
actually,
want to share.
Tamasha, that I reminded me of what we did, especially in our first round. I think it's a really important one, is it's easier to raise money when you don't need money, because you focus on building relationship, building rapport, and you can almost play a psychological game of investors thinking, well, why don't you need my money? What's there that you have that you don't need it? Everyone asks for it. So we're gearing up to do a financing round now, and I have about 18 months of runway. I haven't raised capital in 18 months as well. So we've taken the money we raised and stretched it really far because of the, as Melanie said, the environment is not hot right now. But it's almost created this sense of all those investor relationships that I've been nurturing for the last 12 months are knocking the door and saying, are you raising yet? Are you raising yet? Like, come on, are you raising yet? And it's a very different feeling than the initial rounds where you were going out and asking for money. So if you can ask for advice, build rapport, and prove, I think Tamara made a really good point. When I say you might never feel ready, but you should always feel prepared. It's different. It's just more your personal confidence, but you put the work in. You're not jumping in blind. So I loved that, Tamasha. It was really sound advice. And ultimately, these shareholders are, it's like a marriage. So you get to choose who gets to be around the table with you. And you have to stick your feet in the ground, because loud money that is going to distract you will be worse for your business than being able to pay some early talent. So be patient.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tamasha and Megan, for that advice. Yeah, not all money is good money, and you can say no to an investor if they don't align with you and your vision and all of that. So yeah, thank you so much for all that advice. Okay, we are going to go into our breakout rooms.